Hey guys, how are you? Michael Williams here. Wanted to do this little impromptu video for you, just sharing with you some things that you can do when things get rough. You know, whenever you and I are working towards achieving any kind of goal in life, it could be a financial goal, professional, business, relationship, speech goals, things are not always going to go our way. So the question is, what do we do about it when this happens? So the title of this particular impromptu video is what to do when things go wrong, when things don't go your way. So what do you do? What do I do? Well, one of the first things that we want to do is we want to accept 100% responsibility for how we respond to that situation. So as you know, if you've been working on your speech, things are going to happen. Professional things are going to happen. Things are going to happen at work. Personal things are going to happen at home with your family, relationships. Health things, we're going to get sick, right? Or someone else is going to get sick. Financial, we may have some kind of financial setback or something. Speech-wise, we're going to have a bad speaking day or week or whatever. Okay, so sometimes what happens is when life happens to us, which it is going to happen, if you're working on your speech, and depending on where you are in that journey, what happens is we then get a little distracted because maybe we don't even have the energy to work on our speech, which then causes our speech to get worse, which exacerbates whatever the initial problem was, right? And so then we're wondering, oh my goodness, what's going on here? And it makes us even less confident, and that impacts our speech, and we become more frustrated and more upset, and more anxious, more nervous, and so forth and so on. This can happen to all of us in a lot of different areas, okay? So one of the first things that we do is we tell ourselves, I'm 100% responsible for how I respond in this situation. Now, that doesn't mean that we're responsible for the initial event that happened to us, for the sickness or the drop in income or whatever. Maybe we are and maybe we're not. But it doesn't matter. When we accept 100% responsibility for our response, we actually feel more confident. We feel more confident. Even if the circumstances haven't changed, we feel more empowered and confident that, hey, I'm responsible, so what do I need to do? Right? What activities or actions do I need to take? So this may mean that we step back and we look and say, is there a way I can change this situation? Can I get out of the situation? If I can't get out of it, or if it's not appropriate for me to get out, then what do I need to do to improve it? Or what do I need to do to deal with it better? All right? So we look for actions that we need to take that will help improve our situation. And once we start looking for actions and taking action, you actually find that you feel better. You feel better. When you accept responsibility, I'm 100% responsible for how I respond, and so what actions do I need to take now? When you do that, you're going to find that things start to go better. You start to feel better. Okay. Now, the next thing that we want to look at then is, what are some of the actions that we can take when things are not going well? Well, here's some things that I've done. So over the past several years, I've been coaching full-time, and my business hasn't always gone the way that I wanted it. So I used to blame the economy, I used to blame my color and my race, and I used to blame all kinds of stuff, and I reached a plateau, and I said, you know what, I just can't get any further, and so I need some help. So I got some coaching. I joined a coaching program. I was there for 2 or 3 years. And the thing that shifted for me was my mindset, my beliefs, my assumptions, right? Once I shifted my beliefs, my mindset, my assumptions about why things were happening, things opened up for me. Once I learned and got some new tools, I learned some new skills and got some new tools, things opened up for me, okay? So when you accept responsibility, it gives you the opportunity, the insight to then find the additional skills that you need to learn, the additional knowledge that you need, the mindsets that we need to shift, the limiting beliefs that we need to get rid of, the assumptions that we're making that we need to change, right? We're able to see those things, make those changes, and then take our life to the next level. Does that make sense? When we're not accepting responsibility and we feel like victims, not to say that any of you out there are victims, but sometimes we all act like victims, right? Well, why is this happening to me? We all do that. I mean, I'm sure that I'm safe enough to say that we all do that sometimes. Then we don't have the insight then, or the foresight, to look for the actions that we need to take, so then we perpetuate whatever the situation is that we find ourselves in. All right? So accept responsibility, look for the actions that you can take to improve your situation, and understand it's a journey. The time is going to pass anyway. Life is going to happen. The only constant is that you're going to need to figure out how you respond to these things, how you respond to life, okay? How you respond to life. And that if you're working on your speech, or if it's your business or whatever, what is it that you're going to need to do in the midst of life happening, right? What are you going to do to continue to move forward, okay? You can't let life hold you back or keep you back, or have you going through these ups and downs all the time, because this is going to keep happening. You're going to need to say, all right, this is happening, a little bit of a setback, but let me see how quickly I can recover despite what's happening to me, okay? But it has to be this way, or else you'll always have these you'll always be on the roller coaster, right? Subject to the whims of life, right? Now, here's the second thing. With regards to working on your speech, specifically working on your speech, you don't have to feel like you have to take out all this time outside to work on your speech. Now, there's ways that you can build momentum and work on your speech, starting with just a few minutes a day all the way up to an hour or more than an hour a day. But what needs to happen as quickly as possible is that you need to integrate and embed this process into your day, into your speech, right? Some of you have heard me talk about this. So whenever you speak to someone, that's an opportunity for you to apply what you've learned, to practice. So if you're speaking, you have an opportunity to practice, right? You don't have to set aside time to practice all the time. If there's lots of stuff going on in your life and you just at that moment don't have the amount of time that you'd like to take to practice, to do modeling or whatever, free flow speak, whatever, then you simply take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves. You say, okay, I'm going to use the first minute or two of this conversation to practice, to model, or to extend my words, whatever it is, right? To articulate. So you use your current speaking opportunities as practice time. And this is what we want you to do anyway. Now I want to address something else. This is actually just an additional bonus. Some people have said, now that I'm thinking about my speech, it's gotten worse. So I want you to just think about this. When you're learning a new language, and you've heard me talk about this before, there is or any skill really, right? There is a period of time in which you consciously think about the mechanics. You think about the words, the grammar, how do I say this, how do I pronounce this, how do I enunciate, what's the rhythm, and so what's the cadence of this. So you're thinking about it, so it's very mechanical, it's not very smooth, it's definitely not automatic. And you get into this kind of a gray zone eventually where you find yourself doing it automatically, but then your brain wants you to think mechanically about it. So sometimes we have to push ourselves beyond so that we're speaking it automatically without thinking. When we really want to translate in our head, we have to push ourselves. And then other times we find that we automatically speak without translating. So we're talking about if you're learning a new language. So there's this combination of pushing ourselves not to do it and then it happening automatically. But all that comes about from repetition. The more that we do it, the more it becomes automatic. But sometimes we have to nudge ourselves. So I'm saying that to say that if you're working on your speech, it's all about repetition. Well, what are you repeating? You're repeating the new way of thinking and the new way of speaking. So the more you repeat the way you want to speak, the sooner it becomes automatic. So it's really about repetition. It's not really time, it's repetition. The more I repeat what I want to do. The more I repeat the way I want to speak, the sooner it becomes automatic, right? So if you're not repeating, that is practicing both formally and informally in real conversations, I have to be conscious. I have to be conscious of the way that I'm speaking for a period of time, and I have to keep repeating that conscious speaking behavior, that the skill, whatever it is that I'm doing, I have to repeat it so many times that our brain takes that and forges new neural pathways and makes it automatic. So it's consistent repetition. So if you're still thinking about the way that you speak, then you want to look and say, am I actually repeating the way that I want to speak often enough in real life situations? Because if I'm not, I'm going to consciously have to think about the way that I'm speaking. Same thing with the language. If I'm not practicing the language, not just privately, but practicing it with real people, and if I'm not doing it enough, then every time I have to speak that language, what do I have to do? I have to consciously translate in my head. I have to think about it. Does that make sense? So the more that I practice it, the more automatic it becomes. Now there's a study out, and at some point I'll put a link that shows that there's a correlation between a lack of blood flow in our brain in an area called Brocas area. There's Wernicke's area and Brocas area. Both manage speech. Brocas area manages our ability to actually speak, right? There's the motor ability for us to speak, to formulate words, and to translate our thoughts into actual speech. So it's shown that there's less blood flow in this area in people who stutter. All right? Well, that's wonderful, but how does that help us? Well, it can help us in a couple ways. One, we need to make sure that we increase blood flow to our brains, and there's lots of different ways to do that. Exercise is one. There's some other ways. We won't get into that in this video. But that study doesn't really matter on the other hand, because yeah, there's a lack of blood flow in Brocas area in a lot of people who stutter. So what? How does that help you and I speak better? Well, what you and I have to realize is that our brains are able to rewire itself. So when you accept responsibility and you integrate your new way of speaking into your everyday activities and you repeat this, what your brain is able to do is to go in and to constitute new areas of your brain or different areas of your brain to make up for the lack of blood flow in that one area. You can retrain your brain to speak well. Okay, so if someone took a scan of my brain, they might find that I might have a lack of blood flow in Brocas area, but they'll also find that there's some other part of my brain that's taken over that deficiency. Does that make sense? So I want you to know that no matter what the source or what the cause or what scientists come up with, and they may come up with a fix for that, which would be great, but until that time, you need to understand that your actions by being conscious and taking action, you can change your brain, you can change the way that you speak, and you can be consistent at it, okay? So, I wanted to just share those thoughts, just some things that I've been thinking about, some things that I've studied and read, things that I've heard. I wanted to kind of share all that stuff with you today. This is an impromptu video. I'm sharing that with my coaching clients, self-study, and on YouTube, just so that you guys can maybe gain some insight from anything that I've said. If you don't gain insight from anything else, gain insight from this. You're 100% responsible for how you respond to life, right? You're responsible. 2, remember that there are certain actions that you can take to improve your speech and improve your life. You just have to be in a place where you can see those actions, and that place is in a place of responsibility. You can say, okay, boom, well, now this is what I need to do. 3rd, understand that you don't necessarily have to set aside a whole bunch of time, at least depending on where you are in the pathway. You don't have to set aside time necessarily if you are integrating this process into your everyday speaking opportunities, okay? And then 4, understand that no matter what the science says about what's causing or why people stutter, you still can take actions to rewire, to retrain your brain to help you to speak well. I've helped many people do it. I've done it, and you can do it too. All right. Thank you so much. Michael Williams here. Looking forward to working with you. Listen, guys, if you're out there and you've been working on your speech by yourself, be it the self-study or just watching videos, and you've gotten inconsistent results and you're tired of it and you want to accelerate your progress, just remember, Pro 90D is the fastest, easiest way to stop stuttering and help you say what you want to say. It's the fastest, easiest way to help you to stop stuttering and say what you want to say. Okay, so go ahead, get in contact with me about coaching, because that will accelerate your progress and make it faster and easier. It just does. Look forward to seeing you. We'll talk to you soon.